This segment sponsored by Foster Financial. Welcome to Women's Wealth Wednesday with Foster Financial. And joining me today, of course, is Vice President Caleb Doane. Good morning, Caleb.
Good morning.
Yes, okay. So IRMAA is an interesting term.
Yeah.
And it's something that people may have heard of, maybe haven't. It's an acronym. So what does it stand for?
Yeah, it stands for Income Related Monthly Adjustment Amount, and it's essentially related to your Medicare premiums. So a lot of times we like to personify IRMAA. We say it's your aunt that you never want to meet. She likes to charge you more for your Medicare premiums.
Aunt IRMAA.
Yeah, you're not a fan of her. So a lot of times people have never heard of IRMAA until they get hit with these extra premiums. So since it's for Medicare, it's typically for people 65 and older who might have these additional premiums. Right now, I think the normal monthly cost for Medicare is somewhere around $180 a month for Medicare Part B. But if you make too much money, in the eyes of the government, of course, they hit you with an additional premium every single month.
Oh, so does this come out of your current month statement, or is this something that hits you at the end of the year?
It's typically something that comes right out of your Social Security. So, usually your Medicare premiums are deducted right from Social Security, and so they might be deducting an extra $80, $160, however much per month, every single month, as long as you're in IRMAA. And sometimes that tier can be somewhat easy to reach depending on what your income level is. For a single filer, it's about $106,000, which seems like a lot of money, but at the same time, if somebody's getting Social Security, maybe they're a single filer and have a pension from themselves or from a spouse who passed away. And a lot of times what pushes people into IRMAA is when those required minimum distributions start.
Okay, so setting this up, so you have to be 65 and older, right? You say make over $106,000
for a single filer.
For a single filer, and you're saying that includes whatever their current income is and whatever they may be receiving in Social Security.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
so it's
just
like
all the benefits.
Yeah, it's everything. And a lot of times what people maybe don't think about as income is their retirement account withdrawals. Because especially when those RMDs start, they might not even be actually using the money. It's just the government saying, hey, you have a lot of money in this IRA, you have to take out $50,000 this year and pay taxes on it. And so they might actually just be moving it from one account to the other, sending a little bit to the government for taxes, but it'll show up as income on your tax statement, and that could push you into IRMAA later.
So when someone starts accepting Social Security, does that officially push them into the status of retirement?
I guess not quite. I mean, you could still be collecting Social Security and be working at the same time. If you've hit your kind of what they call full retirement age, you can collect Social Security, you can make as much money as you want, and your Social Security income won't be reduced. I guess the term retirement, I mean, it can be somewhat fluid because there's a lot of people who are retired, but they still work part-time in retirement. There's people that, work for their entire lives. There's people that call it quits at 55. So, I mean, it's somewhat of a fluid thing. People can kind of go in and out of it. But in the eyes of the Social Security system, I mean, when you start collecting Social Security, typically that means your benefit is locked in at that amount, and you'll get those cost of living adjustments, but it's never going to change
because
outside.
the youngest is 55, you can start collecting?
It's 62, actually,
62.
that you can start taking
And
it.
then that range that we've spoke about before is if someone waits until 65, and that's like their max benefit number?
So you can take it as early as 62 or as late as 70.
Okay, 70.
And then it's usually the kind of middle number 67 is where you can start collecting it and still work without having your Social Security benefits reduced. So that's definitely something to keep in mind when it relates to IRMAA, because Social Security could push you over, maybe part-time work and retirement could push you over, and a lot of times it's those RMDs that push you over, specifically for folks who are single filers. So maybe you're a widow, spouse passed away last year, you both had big IRAs, and now you have to take an RMD both for you and for your inherited account.
Okay. So that's why I was wondering. So this also includes pensions, right? Your pension payments. And then, like you said, if you have a spouse, what if you collect insurance because of their death? Is that considered income as well?
It's a good question. Typically, the life insurance benefits are completely tax-free and don't count as income. So that's a nice benefit there. And a lot of people wonder, okay, if I am in IRMAA, if I'm paying more for my premiums, how do I eventually get out of it?
Right,
Because if you're just a little bit into IRMAA every single year, you could be paying it every month for the rest of your life.
Ooh. Okay, how do you avoid it?
Yeah, one of the things we do, of course, ahead of time, we can do Roth conversions and things like that ahead of time. But even if you're in IRMAA right now, there's still some things that we can do. One, there are certain waivers that you can get. If you have certain qualifying events, if your spouse passed away this year, if you got a divorce this year, if you retired this year, a work reduction, there's a lot of things where we can avoid it. And then we use some of the room in your current tax bracket to do Roth conversions. Maybe we strategically have you still be in IRMAA for a few years. That way later down the road you're not in IRMAA. So we could even push you higher into IRMAA for a couple years, kind of bite the bullet, and then later on we get to avoid it.
And just for clarity, this IRMAA specifically applies to Medicaid insurance. So the amount that people have to pay over is essentially saying you're getting too much of a discount on your Medicare benefits because you make too much. Is that right?
Yeah, it's Medicare. Because Medicaid is kind of through the state of Indiana, Medicare through the federal government. That's you paid into it for all of these years. So I mean, you paid into it in order to be able to get Medicare at a discounted rate when you're retired, but then the government comes back and says, hey, even though you've paid into it a ton, the same as what your neighbor did, since it looks like you make a little bit more on paper, we're just going to charge you a little bit more for it every single month. So doesn't always seem fair, and there are ways to avoid it, so typically we like to take advantage of those if we can.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for breaking it down, man. IRMAA, you don't want to be in the state of IRMAA. That's what I took away from that. Okay, you can help everyone avoid that. Can. All right, thanks, Caleb. And if you would like more information about Foster Financial, we'll have their phone number and website listed below. Make sure you are not in IRMAA, but if you are, Caleb can definitely assist you. And I'll see you after the break. This segment sponsored by Foster Financial.